Well, if you can see my screen, and I'll go ahead and get started. There's a lot, I know, in a 50-minute session to try and get through, and 20 tips is a lot to hammer through. So yes, slides are all available. So I've already uploaded them for the event, so they'll be made available to everybody. And of course, the recording will happen. But let me switch my view here so I can see some of the monitor some of the conversation here. So some of these I'm going to run through fairly quickly. Again, there's some of them are fairly text heavy on the slides. It's to provide you, it's more of a download for people that will inevitably want to go and see some of these tips, get more detail and get started with them. The idea with these productivity tips is they may not all be new to you. Some of them have been around for quite a while. Hopefully there are 2 or 3 or more that you've never seen before and can really help kind of spark, your creativity and innovation and help you to get more productive. So these are tips that come from sessions I do almost monthly with a good friend of mine, Tom Duff, Duffbert on Twitter. And he and I do these productivity tip sessions. And so a lot of these I've also blogged about out on buckleyplanet.com. And if my slide will move forward, come on, there we go. And that's me, that's my information. If you have any questions, if you have a hot productivity tip from Office 365, from Microsoft 365, and like to share it, please let me know. I'm always happy to point people if you've blogged about it. I just, in my monthly competition with Tom, I just like to crush them. I don't care where the productivity tips come from. It's a battle every month. So any way that you can help me win, it's welcome. So let's jump in. Now, because we're here at largely a Microsoft Teams event, I tried to focus on those features, there's a lot of them that are Teams related and other products that are visible and utilized through Microsoft Teams. But there are a few towards the end where I get into some other capability, which I just think is really cool and should be part of your productivity mix. So let's start with some basic ones you're probably familiar with. The first one being pinning channels inside of Teams. A relatively new feature if you're not familiar with this. It's the problem of navigation over on the left nav. And when Teams was released 3.5 years ago, one of the first complaints was, there's just so many Teams popping up and so many channels within that. I really only interact with 2 of these teams and only 3 or 4 of the channels, and the rest of it's just noise. How can I shut all of that off? And we knew some features were coming. There's some things that Microsoft did with the AI to be able to go in and say, well, these are channels and teams that you never visit. And so they kind of automatically, the less visited sites, you don't lose access to them, but you lose, they drop out of your favorites and you lose visibility. Well, sometimes there are conversations that are channels that I'm active in, but it's kind of an asynchronous activity. There might be periods of a couple of weeks where I don't access it, but it's one of my main projects. So you can now pin those teams, pin those channels, directly to the teams to the left side navigation. So that is a pretty cool feature. I talked about, I guess I should forward through that. So it's just a matter of going into the channel where you have that activity and then the ellipses, clicking on that and selecting pin. And then what happens is you see the top left here is that those channels where you're more active are always there, the top left of the navigation. So this was just a fantastic addition. And so it's just really changed the way that I interact with that left side navigation. It's one of the great navigation tools, productivity tips that Microsoft has added. Of course, the newer one is pinning apps to the left-hand rail. And so the idea here is exactly what it sounds like. If there are applications that you have a much higher level of interaction with, and you want to make it part of that left rail experience, across, maybe you're adding, maybe you've built your own bot, your own app, and it's integrated across all of your Microsoft Teams. You can add that, so no matter where you are, when you click on that app on the left, inside of a team, and then it will jump to the relevant experience for that app inside of your active team. And so got some links and stuff to it, but essentially how that works. So you go in, you again on the left-hand rail, you click on the ellipses, it pulls up the Find an App if it's right there. In this case, I chose the @bot. And as I add that and pin it to the left, you can see it appear on the left rail. If there's other configuration, if you have to make a choice and point it to a specific team or channel, then those options, those configuration options show up from the screen. But essentially, it's now, here I am inside of my selected team looking at the bot. And so what's great about this is that admins can go in as part of like an automated provisioning process. They can determine, hey, we want to have these apps part of the left-hand rail for all deployment, all of our deployment inside of our organization. Everybody has this. So maybe you have like a timesheet app across your company. So you can make those apps part of it. As an admin, of course, you can always, as a team admin, as you pin things, or from you as a user, your experience, you can go in and pin them, block them, or uninstall them entirely. And it will, if you have the right admin, if you're the team owner that installed that application, then you can then remove it, of course. The third tip, so adding an Office document to a tab. Now, why am I including this as a productivity tip? Because this is a pretty basic thing. You've got Microsoft Teams, you've got tabs across the top, and you can add in a number of things. And from day one, you've been able to add a Word doc, a PowerPoint, whatever, into that experience. The reason I include it here, because not enough people are using it this way, which is now we have such incredibly powerful co-editing capabilities within the Office apps, and yet people aren't using it that way. They'll upload a Word doc, a PowerPoint presentation, something they want to co-edit on up into files. They'll send people a link to that. They go log in and move around. Look, if it's something that's a major artifact that you need to work on and actively work on with people, add it as a tab, make it visible, have conversations around and notes with revision marks on it, but have that as a tab so it's up front. Work on that together. And I love the best practice of like, here's a document that us as a team, this is the reason why we pulled this channel together to work on the completion of this document as we move forward towards the launch of our product, and then call a meeting where all of us are logged in remotely, going to that tab, editing right there in person. And so we don't have people digging, wondering where that document is. It's just a great way to put it front and center. And add, it's really simple, of course, adding a tab, selecting the right format, whether it's a PDF, a Word doc, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever that thing is, add it there, make sure that where you're saving that part of the relevant team and channel. And once it's up there, co-edit, in that real-time co-editing, commenting on that content. It's just a really powerful way to rapidly get through and create that document. Another simple tip, again, this shouldn't be groundbreaking for anybody. Don't worry, they're going to get a little more interesting as we go through. But controlling email access to Teams, and this is something where a lot of people have asked about this and want to understand, hey, what can I do here? Well, you can, if it's been allowed by the administrator, you can actually have, email and send things directly to the threaded conversation in a channel. And so how you find that is you go into that channel, into the ellipses, and here I'm in the new product channel in my team. Click on the ellipses, and there the fourth one down is the get the email address. And so you get one of those incredibly beautiful Microsoft emails or URLs, but you have that, you can copy that. You can set some other standards like, hey, who can actually send to that address? This is great as the team owner. or the channel owner, you can determine, hey, only members of the team can leverage this. So if it gets out there, if for some reason someone outside of the project team or outside of your organization gets it, they can't be spamming that email list. You can really restrict that or even control which domain. And so you can allow people within your company, if you have guest users, say here, the members of our guest domain as part of that. But for example, you might restrict anything, the reason you might do that is you don't want any Gmail or Hotmail accounts, these anonymous users sending content into your team. So this is something that you can do. It's just quick and simple to go be able to find this and leverage this content. So, and of course I had some to walk through what I've just talked about. The next one, I guess I should rely a little bit more on my builds here, but sharing mobile videos to stream. So Stream, of course, integrated in with Microsoft Teams, and it's a newer capability, but the ability to go in there. So it wasn't 3 days ago from today, 3 days ago from when that was added in May of 2019. So it's been out there for a year. But you can share videos directly into Microsoft Teams from your mobile device. And there's a little bit of a theme around this. Some of the the mobile apps that Microsoft is doing are getting to be incredibly powerful, very simple, and a great way to collaborate inside of Microsoft 365 via your device. And I'm going to share some other tips later. But going in and sharing videos, it's really simple. Kind of walk you through what that experience looks like. So you go and you cut your video that you want to share with your team. So as you upload that content into the system, I've recorded on my iPhone the movie there. I click next, and so you actually you find where that's going to be hosted. So in my videos view, there it is. I then go down and I want to share it out there. I select the share button. I then get a wide range of options. So I can share it with an individual. I can send it via, a text message through the email formats. And so I kind of scroll through, you find Microsoft Teams. So then that pops open with this little, send to message. And then you have to identify the team, then identify the channel within that team. You make that selection and then you hit send. It then uploads into Stream, and there you go, that really important video that I wanted to share of my dog. It's now shared up in Stream and is available and consumable through the environment. So super simple to be able to do that. You don't need to go to the desktop to be able to interact with Stream and to push content in real time. And a great way to leverage this, just as an example, if you don't have a webcam on a laptop, or you're doing a meeting that's just off-site but want to record that, capture that for a project or for your organization, is just capture the video on your phone and right there push that content into Stream. And when it's uploaded into the Stream, that means that as part of its processing, it goes in and does the it goes in, it processes it, it does all of the transcription. And so once that's uploaded into Teams, that means that it becomes a searchable asset, digital asset within your Teams environment, within your information management system. So that's the value of capturing on the fly these mobile videos and pushing those into Stream. All right, the next one is aggregating your view with the Planner Hub. Now, there's, of course, some new news that has come out. I did a session yesterday where I was talking about tasks in Microsoft 365, and an important part of that is Microsoft's strategy with tasks inside of Microsoft Teams. There's a new tasks icon or app that's being added and being rolled out worldwide here over the next couple months. Not sure of the time frame for that, but there are multiple ways that you can see an aggregated view of what's happening inside of Planner while we're waiting for that Teams app to be deployed. So what I mean by that is that you are likely a member of a number of Planner projects that are out there. And Planner, of course, is a great tool for that Kanban method of that list management. So you have each of those buckets or columns, and you might be assigned to a number of different tasks across that. And so this is just illustrating that the aggregation capability, but there's multiple ways to consume this same information. If you have Planner, you can go directly to Planner, to the URL for your Planner install. Whether you have a standalone Planner SKU or you're leveraging Planner through Teams, you'll be able to get to that hub site inside of Planner. You can also go to office.com and log in. So you can access this view if you're away from your desktop, your laptop, and want to get in and take a look at this view. You can always log into office.com. And I always recommend, if you're logging in on a different system, when you're done, make sure you log out. But when you log into office.com and go down into Planner, you get over to the Planner Hub site. It'll give you that all-up view. You have the ability to go in, as you see over on the left side, the My Tasks view, and you'll immediately be able to get in and see any task assigned to you across multiple Planner plans. And of course, as I say, by the way, you can go in if you have the To-Do app as well. It has that assigned to me. And part of Microsoft's broader task management strategy is that everything that they're going to be building out going forward is integrated with one or both of Planner and To-Do. So that the idea is if somebody creates a project plan in the desktop version of Microsoft Project and they sync that with the cloud and push that information out, that if there's a task in that plan that's assigned to you, you'll get a notification and it will either be shared into Planner or most definitely into To-Do. So via your mobile device, you'll always have at your disposal a complete list of every task that's been assigned to you from multiple sources. And eventually that's going to be across all workloads. So if somebody creates a task while working in Outlook or in Teams or in Planner or in Project Online, or they sync up with the Microsoft Project Plan, all of that should aggregate and roll to your To-Do app on your phone. If you're not using To-Do, if you don't have that installed, because you're not a big list person like me, I still think you should become familiar with that application because there's a lot that's happening around To-Do and Planner. So further integrations here between the two of them is really kind of what I just described here. This is kind of the future look at this, and so you can see from the animated image here that as people are adding tasks over inside of a plan, it automatically rolls to your mobile view. So you'll instantly see as tasks are assigned to you. And so it's just going to be a really powerful integration. So that's why you should become familiar with Planner, but definitely install and start playing with To-Do. And I always highly recommend, if your organization is not yet using Planner, get a pilot going, just become familiar with it, because so much of what's happening, especially around Microsoft Teams, it's going to have deeper and deeper integration between these two applications. And so become familiar with them and link them together. The eighth one is the AI-powered To-Do tracking in Word. And you've probably seen some of this. You've seen this talked about, talked about. If you've seen any of my sessions that I've done, I talk about this. But as you're co-editing that document, you now have the ability to go in, or will have shortly here. Look at the dates on this, but the ability to go in and mention a person in a Word doc, and then put down a task for them to do. So it'll send a notification to that individual that, hey, Christian has assigned you to go in and add content to this section in that Word doc. So it's as you're, maybe you have that Word doc open, it's shared as a tab inside of Teams. Somebody that's essential that you need content from to complete this document is not in the room. You can mention them, they'll get a notification. And so this is part of, again, that broader task management strategy that Microsoft has, and that they're slowly rolling out.
Hey, Christian, do you want to address a couple questions before you go on to the next tip?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the questions is, do we also have or get an aggregated view of all plans associated to the team in an overall chart to get an overview over all the sub projects hosted in the different channels?
You get your view of those things. So you actually have a couple different ways of seeing tasks that are assigned to you. If you want to see the detail from each of those plans, you need to go in those plans. Planner is not meant to be a portfolio management solution. So there's no kind of ultimate list of plans. That's called Project Online. I mean, that's a project and portfolio management solution. So that's a request. A lot of people have made that. But from your personal perspective, you can go in there and see, you can sort or filter the view of tasks assigned to you by project or by plan or by due date. And so you can set those filters and see it in a number of ways.
Great, thank you. So then there's one more, just tasks from all workloads in To-Do. Will that include the tasks from SharePoint task list and issue lists?
So that's a great question. So my understanding is that's in the long-term roadmap. I don't know that there are any dates or commits around that. I'm just not aware of the specific timeline. So in my presentation yesterday, I included both SharePoint and Yammer icons as places, those that saw that session. And I said that, look, anywhere that it makes sense to create and have an action around a task, it will eventually flow into To-Do and Planner. That's Microsoft's strategy. It doesn't mean that they have a plan in place today, or an action plan to go, and a roadmap for each of those things. Like, roadmap is the better term for that. But that is long term. Yes, I don't know that there are any dates around in the roadmap or what's being worked on today.
Okay, great. Thanks, Christian.
Yep. Yeah, and feel free to jump in. I'm just gonna, since I'm going through 20, I'm gonna plow through here. So if there are any other questions, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll do. Thanks.
Next one, I mean, I really like this. If you're starting to use To-Do, if you're using the smart devices, there are a number of integrations that are out there. A lot of text on this one. I'll just talk to these. And so I actually have in the next slide here links to go and do this. And there's multiple ways that Microsoft achieves this. So I use, look, I've got my Echo over on the window. I have to be careful that if I talk about her, then she'll wake up over there. I've got a Fruit phone on my wrist. And one of the things that you need to do, the key integration, is you can go and you can establish To-Do as your default list tracking within those devices. Of course, you expect to have the integration with Cortana if you've got one of those old Cortana devices, or with your desktop with Windows, you have that enabled. It will automatically leverage To-Do, but you can go connect those pieces through these other smart devices. Cortana's getting smarter with talking with those other devices, but how you achieve that is going in, like I use the example here of Siri, but is through, I don't have the build there. It didn't show. It's because I went the wrong direction here. Come on, there we go. Is leveraging like, if this then that, or other connector services. But there are a number of connectors that are out there, these applets that are out of the box that you can go and will walk you through that setup to connect to To-Do. And what's great about that is that I have, my car, so I'll be able to, leverage the Siri connection and set up reminders and other lists, on my To-Do app I can do that as I'm driving with voice commands, and it will automatically route those things to my to-do list. So that's out there and available today. All right, so here, slightly off topic, but it's again, you see the patterns with all these things. I just found there's another 10 that aren't specifically Teams related, but some really cool features that add to the Teams activities environments. One of my favorite new things, if you've not yet played with this, you need to go play with this. But the new improved dictation inside of Word, it actually works the way that I've wanted to be a fan of the dictation services, the capabilities with like, what is it, Dragon Naturally Speaking and other things for years and years and years. And I always felt that it was more work to go and clean up the inaccuracies than it was the benefit of doing that. I could type slightly faster than it took me to go and do the rest of the mess around this. But I'll tell you, and when I demoed this in one of my monthly productivity tips webinars, how accurate it is, it's fantastic. I'm a huge fan. So open up Word, just go up, click on dictate, and don't write your next memo or blog post, whatever it is that you're doing. Use the new AI dictation capability, and I think you're going to be impressed there. And of course, it says there's 6 new preview. It is in preview, but it's up and working. And so you can find it through with your Office 365 license. I guess I should have prefaced all this by saying, there are with some of the things that I'm talking about, look at what version that you have. For the most part, if you're on Office 365 versus you only have the desktop versions, so many of the newest, coolest, latest features are AI driven or cloud driven, and you have to have that latest your Office 365 license to get access to these things. And I believe that's true for all the E licenses. Any of the F licenses as well through the cloud should enable most of these services. And all the edu licenses as well should all work. The next one, love this. Visualizing your data with ideas in Excel. I was a big fan, or am a big fan, of the ideas in PowerPoint. If you're like me, I can't stand wasting too much time in PowerPoint to make things look pretty. And this is really funny. I started my collegiate career as an industrial design major, and I just did not have the patience. I was drawing technical drawings that took 6 to 10 hours to complete a single drawing, and I hated it. It's funny, I left the program. I started doing graphic design, went back like a year later and visited, and they had completely moved to computer-based. Well, PowerPoint Ideas was fantastic, where I could start entering my content, cut and paste photos, things that I wanted to use, data into that, and it would come back with all these suggested formats to make my slides look pretty. Well, now Excel has that same capability. So sometimes you've got an interesting data set, but how you present that data is as important as the data. If you can't communicate out that data and have those visualizations, then you may not get your data points across. So how you do this is you go and you select the data set. I just created that generic little table there. You go click on ideas, and instantly you get that the dialog box open over on the right side, and you start seeing options available. So that panel opens, you can scroll down through some of these. Of course, those aren't the greatest examples there on the right side because it's an overly simplistic data set. And Ed, are you sweating now because you see your job going away because of these the quick ideas?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's for somebody that is not going to go in and spend the time, just needs to quickly, again, they just need to display some visualizations around these data sets. You can't go spend the hours to go craft this. It's kind of a starter. It allows you to go in there and of your data set, hey, here are the different things I want to focus on. Based on the selections you make, it'll refine the visualizations. And once you find, like, hey, this is what I want to convey here, and then you click on the insert pivot chart at the bottom of that graphic. Then what happens is it opens up a tab, it inserts the subset of the data that you selected, as well as that graphic. And of course, you can go in and tweak it, modify it, make it look exactly the way that you want. But for most of us that don't live and breathe inside this world and just want to go and add some interesting visualizations, this is just another, again, a fantastic way to make me look like I spent more time creating the graphics around this data. So it's a great little tool. Definitely go play with that. Another great AI-based tip is the PowerPoint Coach. And there's two key things that this does, and this is out in the cloud. So this is the PowerPoint online version of this that enables to do this. But there's two things that it does. One, so as you actually go and present, and it'll kind of like the dictation tool and kind of record and allows you to go through. It will actually, and somebody said they must have an integration, the automation where they leverage Toastmasters, because it'll go through and analyze your speech patterns, how many ums and ahs, the pregnant pauses that litter our conversation every time you say the word like. But it'll also find things like I think Tom pointed out in one of our sessions, like will it identify like where you identify like gender neutral language, and yes, it'll actually go in and identify, hey, here's a different way to say the same thing and present it in a different format. But it'll also give you information like how much time. So if you know you have 15 minutes and you're going in and practicing, well, 15 minutes, I've got 30 slides. Well, go through those slides and you're at 40 minutes. Well, now you know where to go and make some cuts, as well as improve the quality of the language that you use and the pace of the slides in your presentation. Of course, the other side of this is that as you're creating a net new presentation, it'll actually provide the feedback directly as you're building that. And as you can see here, there's the design ideas. So as far as the look and feel of that content, but also as you're adding content, it'll give suggestions on how to best create that slide or that presentation as you're adding slides to it. So two ways that it'll help fill that or help you build content in PowerPoint. Just really cool tool. One of my other favorite PowerPoint capabilities is adding interactive forms to PowerPoint. And I don't know if people have done this. It's fantastic. So what I generally do for events that I speak at, I will upload copies of my slides to slideshare.net, or I might might push it out on my OneDrive and just share an open link and through a blog post, push it out there. There's a number of places wherever you're storing that, but you have the ability to go and create a form or a series of forms and quiz people. So you can actually have at the end of your presentation, you can have multiple surveys littered throughout your content. And what's cool about this is that it's embedded in there as part of the presentation. So even if you have uploaded it to OneDrive or SlideShare, and as people go and are looking through your slides, then they'll get to a slide that has a bunch of questions. And as they fill that out, you'll have a live little panel in Microsoft Forms, forms.microsoft.com, where you'll be able to track those in real time, the data. So if you're giving a presentation and you've pushed that content out there while you're presenting up front and people are following along, you can actually build these questions right into that deck. And there's other ways of doing this. And what I've seen when people are presenting active, and they'll put like a QR code up on the screen, and then they need people to then, take a picture of that, go to that link, fill out, answer the question there. That's one way of doing it. Or you can have the presentation and have everybody have access to it out on the web, follow along. Yes, you'll have some people that'll read ahead. But that was me as a kid. I guess I could have forwarded my slide here. Oh, and you can also do this within Stream. So you can actually add that as part of a video that you upload to stream, and then 3 minutes into the video, it pops up on a little survey. So you can build that survey, gather data at the beginning of your presentation, if they're following along, if it's published out on Stream or out on SlideShare, wherever they find that content. And then as they respond, you'll be able to see that real-time data flow through. And so here you see some of the results as people are answering those questions through these surveys, through forums. So it's just a really powerful way of doing this, and this is what it looks like. So as you're building inside of PowerPoint, you actually have that forms as part of it within the ribbon. So you click on that and add that. It adds a slide. You ask the questions that you want to make part of that PowerPoint presentation, and then you log into forms. As that is published out, you'll be able to get to that dashboard, and you can do quizzes as well. And I've got another presentation in another session that I did where I get in and talk about the difference between surveys and quizzes and some of what Microsoft is built out here. So you actually can go in, and it does some cool things, like it'll actually recognize handwriting and do some conversion as well to the calculations. But yeah, so really cool things that you can do with forums, but I won't get into detail there. This is a nice feature here, the Play My Emails in Outlook. If you've not yet seen this, it's just another safety feature, that hands-free capability, just at a high level. If you've not yet played with this, so if you have you've connected your phone to Bluetooth or headset, or in your car, as I'm driving, it automatically connects. It will automatically, at the bottom of that, the smart AI will identify, hey, you're in a place where you're not able to read through or shouldn't be reading through your emails. Do you want to, and you can see in that first image there, play my emails. It'll actually give you a summary of those emails. It'll focus on those new things and the priority of those new emails. And so it'll put it first. If there's a high priority email that comes in, it'll bump it to the top, put it first. But it'll tell you right there, as you can see in the image, if you can see that, it says that play my emails 7 minutes. So it'll tell you how long to move through the new emails that have come out in the 5 minutes it took for you to leave your office and get in your car and start driving. Of course, there's other controls, voice controls that you can do, so you can respond to things right there on the fly or skip them. So it's just a really nice hands-free tool. I don't know. I don't use it that much while I'm driving. I do it more when I'm walking with my dogs. When I'm driving, the music is playing. I'm not paying attention to anything but the road and the music I'm listening to. But it's a great little productivity tool if you've not yet played with it. Some people have said, like, hey, I'm looking at my phone and I don't see it. Right. It knows that you need to be connected via Bluetooth or headphones, that it'll identify those times where it's necessary to play your emails versus read. So, all right, next one, 15, leveraging the new Office app. If you have not yet downloaded the Office app, you need to go into your app store and download this for your mobile device. Do it today. Don't walk in a neat, orderly line. But there was a big push around this. It's a great tool. The question that people asked, right, it was like, well, hey, this combines capabilities of PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. Do I need to, should I just delete those applications? And as you can see here, and it's now full, 2 pages of this, but as a joke, I like to hang on to apps on my phone. So I've got a bunch of apps like GigJam and some other I've got my Office 365 Groups app, which does nothing. I put it in my Microsoft app graveyard just so I could see how long until they just disappear on their own. But I was never a big PowerPoint, Excel, or Word user on my mobile device. just occasionally I would open something up and look and do some minor edits to it. But the fact that it has a single app that does those things, in my view, for 99% of people out there, yes, you can delete those other apps. The Office app does everything that you need to do. Plus, it has a few of the features that we've been hearing about for a while that are really cool. So, it's one app. It's actually, I think it's closer to 5 apps in one. It does a lot of things that the OneDrive app does. It also does things that Office Lens does. And so do I use Office Lens anymore? Yeah, because it's a habit and it's right there in my initial screen, my home screen on my phone, because I use it enough that it's right there. However, I have the same capability in the OneDrive app. I have the same capability now in the Office app. So I could remove Office Lens and just have this consolidated app. It also has those features that we've been hearing about for months, which is transforming pictures into documents. And so you could snap a picture. You'd be reading a magazine, and there's a bunch of text that's in a title, in a graphic. You could snap a picture of that. It will OCR the text and put it in a managed, in a text format. You actually convert that. It'll separate the image from the text. You can also take a picture of like a table of data, snap a picture, and it will attempt to convert it into an Excel spreadsheet so that you can then go in, start playing with that data, share that out. I also took a picture of a table, of a graph, of an image, a visualization, and it attempted it. It wasn't a usable format, but what it did is it created an Excel table and used some of the kind of the art tools, the picture tools, and added in a graphic representation of the graph that was so it was just a fun little experiment there. And then, of course, you have those other actions, and I'll come back to those in a second. I wanted to show you. So the primary features of the new Office app. So adding notes, of course, the snapping photos and videos, the Office Lens capability, and then reviewing and editing documents and slides. But the next layer down, when you click into that, so the transferring files, and I use this a lot. So no matter where you are, you transfer the file. If you're on the same Wi-Fi connection, the device, you actually go log into the device. So I might be, maybe I'm in the Microsoft Store and I have some information I want to transfer a file. I'm testing something out. I can log in the browser on that standalone PC into transfer.microsoft.com. It will come up with the QR code, take a picture from the app, and it will connect my phone to that device for the next few minutes while the activity is happening. If you go dormant, it'll kill that connection. And then you can transfer files, upload photos and video and other things between systems. As you can see here, you can also then image to text and the image to table, the capabilities that I saw. And then another really cool feature is sign a PDF. So you can scan something and add it to a PDF, add pictures to a PDF. So if you're taking multiple pictures and scans, and you can leave a PDF open and keep adding pages to that single PDF, and then go share that PDF with people. But the sign a PDF, I love it. So if somebody sends you a PDF, and you don't have to have a DocuSign or one of these other third-party apps or Adobe Acrobat with that capability, you can just open that up, you click on the location for it to be signed, and then use your finger on your phone and add your signature, save the file, return it, or send that file out. So really cool feature that they've added to that app. So leverage that again from the OneDrive capabilities. You go in and connect that to all of your SharePoint OneDrive locations. Anything that's group enabled. You'll be able to see all of those as well as other third-party or cloud storage devices. So if you're using, Google Drive or Ignite or one of these other, competing storage solutions, you can still connect all of those things. And out of the box, of course, you've got a bunch of those options so that it will all just move content where you need it to go. I also love that it has a lot of that consistent behavior that you're seeing, that I can preview files. So like visually, is this the one that I'm really looking for? You can pin applications. So if you go and scan something and pin it so that next time you log in through the desktop, hey, it's still there and shares those pinned items. It has the recent. You could go in there and modify the properties for those things, search through all that content, review and edit content within that format because it's all in that doc. You can even preview and print view, as well as view and edit all of the metadata for that content that you've uploaded, and then share through all of those different formats. And we hit share, you've got that standardized behavior. Here's some of the examples that I talked about before. So converting tables and graphs to Excel data. So that's the picture up top. That's what it tried to do. That's what it looked like. So not perfect, but the fact that it attempted to change that, to add that in was pretty cool. But obviously, it works better if it's a table of data there. There's a magazine where I snapped a photo of that title, and it went in and OCR'd that data. There it is. It took that text and created that. So it's just really cool that it could go in there. Of course, you have the Office Lens capability. Snapped a picture. I could then, as I took that picture, I could connect in. There, I scanned into the code. You've got a little pin to add there to connect, and then you browse to the right content or images. This is an important distinction. It's a limitation today that fellow MVP identified. He says that one of the problems with the Office app based versus the Word, PowerPoint, and Excel is that with an older phone, and I told him to get a phone newer than his 1997 model. I don't know what phone he has. I was just mocking him for having an older phone. But the 3 standalone apps allow you data and cache to be placed in external memory. So on that micro SD card. And so if you are on an older phone, the new app doesn't do that, doesn't connect with that SD card. And so it's going to use up all of your native memory, all of your space for that. So just be aware of that with the new app. Hopefully they'll fix that in the app soon. The next tip that a lot of people aren't aware of, or they've not played with it, is the timeline feature in Windows 10. It's another thing that has just saved my butt. It's just one of those, the machine does an automatic reboot or something. I come back in the morning overnight and find that it was rebooted. But even if you've just been working on something and we're like, crap, I was working on that yesterday. Where were those other files? What was that other thing that I was working on? So you have to go in and enable this capability for it to work. So you go into the settings, privacy, activity history, and turn that feature on. So that's the timeline button at the bottom of Windows. So everybody should have it in Windows 10. So you have to go in, and in the privacy settings, there's something wrong with my builds here. There we go. And go into those settings and enable this. So in the activity history, and turn that on for your device. And then once you're doing that, when you click on that button, then you get everything that's open on your desktop today, earlier that day, yesterday, and you've got the scroll bar on the right. So as you scroll down through, you'll be able to find those files, everything that you were working on. And where's the next build? There we go. Scroll down. And so quickly jump back into something that you were working on previously. Really cool little feature. Here's another one that I really like. Did I duplicate the number? Did I not change that? I'm going crazy here. Okay, you know what? Never mind. My OCD wanted me to go back and check that, but it's not important. I'll rise above it. Brainstorming with Microsoft Whiteboard templates. Another great tool that's out there. If you've not seen this, there's Microsoft Whiteboard. So share your screen. You want to collaborate with people as we're all quarantined together. We're alone but together. Using the whiteboard. What's great about the whiteboard capability, and I would love to see this integrated into Teams and promoted more broadly. But go in, download Microsoft Whiteboard, do a quick search for it, find it. It's a Windows 10 capability. So think of like the inking capabilities in Windows. It's kind of an extension of that. But go in, download the whiteboard, set up the application. It's free. Get it installed, and there we go. You've got this this clean, flat, nothing whiteboard. Well, a lot of people need that help to like, where do I get started? How do I better collaborate? What do we do inside of the whiteboard to be most effective? Well, what's great is you got these preview of these templates, various templates. I did a long blog post where I walked through and shared some snapshots for each one of these. So go out to buckleyplanet.com and look up whiteboard. You'll find that blog post. But you go to the template preview, open that up, and then you get this scrolling bar of options of all the various templates. So brainstorming, the Kanban list, you select the right one. My builds are messed up. And it will drop in, like here is a Kanban example. It will drop it in. Oh, my builds they're completely messed up. Apologies. But it will drop in that template and give you that, instead of a blank slate, it'll give you a place to start. So if you are, here's that Kanban, if you want a template for brainstorming for a meeting, if you're planning for an event, it has about a dozen, I think 12 to 14 different templates that are available to help your team get started, know where to start. All right, a couple things really quick. OneNote, one of my favorite applications of all time. Here is the productivity tip here. So of course, we all know that you go and you create a new meeting, you can go up and add meeting notes, and you have two things that you can do for a new appointment. You can share notes with the entire team for that meeting, or you can take notes on your own. And what's great about this, and it's kind of more in the title here, I'll just kind of talk through it. Once you've created that, it's fantastic. So my builds are messed up. You can kind of see the image in the bottom right corner, but I'll describe this. Once you've created that meeting note for that meeting, you can actually access that shared OneNote via your mobile device. And what's cool about that, and when I figured this out, like I didn't even kind of put two and two together that you can do this, is that you can then use your phone in the meeting notes when you're connected to that team, and you can take video, you can take photos, you can, if you're remote, and add two notes in real time, you can co-edit, co-collaborate via OneNote and your mobile device through that meeting connection, through that link. So really cool little feature that I didn't show you any pretty pictures of because my builds got messed up there. Another one around this is, so this is one that Tom had actually shared in our monthly sessions, but so he gets into a little more detail around sharing video, and you can do the same with audio. So you have the ability inside that notes to actually hit record and capture yourself talking through a process. You can record the room and capture the entire meeting. So you could be taking hand notes and also attach the recording directly into the notes. So somebody coming in after the fact, and they can see that video or audio recording of that meeting. And you can share that file or save that file elsewhere and do something with that. But it's, again, just a way of playback. There's a recording you can save as and move it elsewhere, save it up in a stream. But you just have a lot of different options for capturing that meeting and adding to it. So those two kind of fit together, being able to add to that experience from your mobile device, as well as capturing it directly from your laptop as you're sitting in that meeting. And the last tip I want to share, you've probably seen a lot of news around this, and I just hope that more people go take a look at this, that building your own learning portal with learning pathways. So you've heard about that aspect of that. And what this is, there's kind of an out-of-the-box an example. Stephen Rose with Microsoft shared this in a blog post about a month and a half ago. February, mid-February. And so there's a communication site that you can go and deploy that's set up so that you can help with with adoption and engagement and help people to get up to speed on whatever it is that you're training them on. And there's kind of the steps to go and add that in. So that's a SharePoint template that you can go and deploy. But then the back half of this is, well, what content do I actually go and add into this? That's, I think, the cooler part of this. So that is part of this experience. So you can actually go in, and there are just a ton of adoption resources that are out there. You can go and select by industry. You can select by the various products and services that are out there and add those into your template, into your learning pathway. You can pull in third-party content. You can build your own content and add into that pathway. So it's a lot of flexibility on adding that content in and having something that is tailored to the needs of your organization, the products and services from Microsoft, as well as internally that you want to build into that learning pathway. It's just a quick way to get up and running and point people to content that are going to help them to be more productive within the solution. So that's 20 tips. I know I went slightly over here. If you like these kinds of tips, I just welcome you to. We're doing another session here on April 22nd. We try to do it almost every month, but the other thing for the past recordings on this, go take a look at and subscribe to us out on YouTube /C/Collab Talk, and you'll find all my sessions and things that are out there. And with that, any other questions, Russ? Anything else that came in, or Ed?
No, that's it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully there were at least one or two that you hadn't heard of, and you'll get some value out of.